Hello friends, welcome back. Nice to see you again. It's lovely to catch up with you just a week later. Hope you're all well. I hope you've had a good week. God, it was a cold week last week, wasn't it? This video will go out on Wednesday, but as you watch this, I think we've come out of the cold snap. Also, the weather predicts and it's going to be a bit milder than usual. But for now, for me, it's perishingly cold. I've not took my scarf off. This was a scarf I wove. I've shown it you before. I wove this for myself a few years ago. I love it. I wear it all the time. It's my most, goes with my pink coat, so I wear it a lot. But I'm here to talk to you today about, specifically about the creative process of how we come up with our sock clubs, and with a focus on Santa's Secret Sock Club this time. After all this time, I still don't know where to look. I'm going to go there. You're used to that by now. You don't come here for professional presentation, do you? It's just me waffling with my mates. So yeah, we decided this year, through 2025, we're running 2 yarn clubs. The Dahlia Society, which is one that's shown. It's not a surprise, it's not a secret. You know what you're buying, and there are various options, be that mini skeins or sock sets, shawl kits, hat kits, all that sort of thing. And then we're doing our Santa's Secret Sock Club, which is a mystery yarn club. We haven't done a mystery yarn club for, gosh, I think it must be 5 years. I think it's at least 5 years. And it just never felt appropriate through COVID, certainly, and then post-COVID there was such an economic unrest, wasn't there, and it just never felt appropriate to ask people to buy a yarn that they hadn't seen. You know, money was tight. It is tight. But yeah, I don't know, this year I'd got this in my head about running Santa's Secret Sock Club, and I couldn't get the secret bit out of my head, so we decided to run with it, and it's been incredibly well received. So thank you so much if you joined us and took that leap of faith with us. And the concept is that throughout the year, every month, you'll get a Christmas themed sock set. So that come December, you'll either have a collection of 12 pairs of socks, which is your gift knitting done, or like me, you're going to have sort of a pair to wear every other day through Advent. My intention is to carry that on next year, so that then I have 24 pairs of socks to wear Christmas socks all through Advent. But I thought I'd do a little bit of a reveal. We haven't shown it anywhere on social media yet, so I'm going to do a reveal with you guys and show you the inspiration behind the colour, and yeah, just have a little catch up. So I will give you fair warning when I'm going to show the yarn and the samples in case you haven't seen it, but immediately I'm going to show the colour inspiration. So if you haven't yet received your yarn, which if you're in the UK you should have done, there may be 1 or 2 on the other side of the world that haven't yet to arrive, but I think by the time this goes live most will have done. But fair warning, I'm going to show you the colour inspiration, and then I am going to show the yarn itself. So the name of the club, the name of the first sock set was Santa's Day Off. I think he's earned a day off or 2 in January. And my vision was that I had 2 thoughts really. I thought, is he somewhere far flung in the Caribbean having a beautiful rest on a hammock drinking a pina colada, or is he cozied up binge watching a box set with a hot water bottle and in new pyjamas? And of course I went down the cozy vibe. So my vision for the yarn, the way that, let me backtrack a little bit, the way our business works and the way the dynamic between Nick and I works is I typically come up with the idea and then the inspirations for colours and things like that, and then I kind of pass on my thoughts to Nick, sometimes with a mood board, sometimes with like a palette that I've put together on Pinterest or something like that, and I'll physically WhatsApp him that and sort of give him that. We certainly do that if we're doing sort of countdown boxes, be that for whichever season. there will definitely be a mood board that I then deliver to him and he'll sort of draw inspiration from. But for this one, it was just just a conversation, and then I showed him some fabrics and things. So yeah, so we went down the cozy vibe. So Santa Claus, Father Christmas and Mrs. Christmas are cozied up in their cabin. The fire's on. He's got new pyjamas for Christmas, and of course some hand knit socks by Mrs. Claus. And yeah, he's got a hot water bottle. He's all cozied up, and that was the vibe. So inspiration wise, I made these pyjama shorts for Megan, and I just love this fabric. I made these, I say, pyjama shorts and a pyjama top. It's in a really lovely Robert Kaufman organic brush cotton, and it's lovely. I adore the colours, and with the leftovers I made Mum a hot water bottle cover, and this fabric just jumped at me immediately. I can just imagine Father Christmas in a pair of these brushed cotton flannel pyjamas. And then of course I knit these Santa Claus Father Christmas socks some years ago now, with their little fluffy boucle top. This was a pattern by Jules Hill of So Sweet Violet. I think it's called the Saint Nick socks. Gosh, we've sold hundreds of kits for these socks. So I thought this was my mood board. This was what I delivered to Nick as my inspiration. This sort of tealy, I think I alluded to at one point that the yarn in the clubs were going to be Christmas themed, but they wouldn't always scream red, green, gold. And this one, when it was first dyed, didn't scream Christmas to me. When I first saw it, it was a beautiful skein of yarn. The colours were beautiful, but it didn't scream Christmas. And that's absolutely okay. But then when I knit it, and the way I knit it, it absolutely has screamed Christmas. So what would you say? Would you say this screamed Christmas? I mean, these socks immediately make you think of Christmas, don't they? Because that's how they're designed to make you think. But this doesn't, does it? This fabric doesn't. And there is red in this as well. More of a corally red rather than a Father Christmas red. But there is definitely red there. So let me show you the yarn. So spoiler, the yarnies are coming, as are completed samples. So this is Santa's Day Off, and it's, as you can see, it's that teal, it's pinks. There are some reddy pink speckles on there as well, and that is leaning more towards the coral red from the fabric rather than the true red. Take one out of the skein. There you go, you can see it better there. So it's teals and it's pinks, and then, as I say, there's those corally red speckles on it, which is all designed to match my fabric, or rather Father Christmas's pyjamas, which it does beautifully. So of course the coordinating or contrasting mini had to be bright Father Christmas red. And that yarn is called Santa's Day Off. Oh, I love it so much. So pleased with it. We didn't have to, we always do a test skein or two. We do a couple of skeins and then we wind it up. We start knitting with it. We sample knit it before we conclude that that's the right colour. And we didn't make any tweaks to this at all. Once the test skeins were done, started knitting. Megan and I both started knitting a pair. No, Jeff, stop it. Megan and I both started knitting a pair and immediately loved it. So we didn't make any tweaks whatsoever, which was lovely. That doesn't always happen. I would say rarely happens. There's usually something we want to make a little tweak on, but not this time. Stop scratching. Oh, he's so needy. Do you want to see the samples? Megan has knit a textured pair of socks as her sample, and I've knit a plain pair to show you the difference. Should have brought a sock block, shouldn't I? Never mind. So this is Megan's pair. It's the crunkled sock. Nick, yeah, will you just come and let Jeff out, please? So yeah, Megan's done the crunkled sock, a pattern by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. It's beautiful. Doesn't hide the texture, doesn't hide the yarn at all. But it's very different to the stockinette. You see the speckles a bit more on the plain. You lose them a little bit in the texture, but I mean the crunkled socks is such a great design. It's a fabulous pattern. If you haven't made it already, we've made this several times. And as you can see, the contrast was in the heel and the toe. And it's lovely. Now, I decided to make mine for Nick. And Nick obviously has a much larger foot than Megan. And he likes a much longer leg than Megan. And I wanted to see, I had this idea of doing stripes throughout the sock. And I was quite curious just to see how far I could stretch a 20-gram mini and see if it was possible. The answer is no, it's not, but bear with. I think it could be, and I'll explain why. Let me show you the socks first. Aren't they cute? I think they're really fun with these stripes. And do you see what I mean now, how it being Christmassy? I didn't think the yarn on its own was particularly Christmassy, but as soon as it's striped like that, it just screams Christmas to me. I love it. So I did a 2x2 rib cuff, and then I've done 5 rows of the main colour, 2 rows red, 5 main, 2 red throughout the whole sock. And I did include a red traditional heel flap and gusset with a garter stitch edge there, like I always do. If you've watched my podcast before, you know that this is my standard square heel term, and this is my standard recipe for Nick. I did a 15-row cuff, and then I've done 60 rows for the leg, so there's 75 rows total in my leg. And then obviously I've done a 70-row foot, and then a beanie toe. Is it beanie? Umbrella toe, again from a Kay Jones pattern. And it took 28 grams of the red to complete these man-sized 10 socks with really quite a full length leg. So no, I couldn't do it in the 20 grams, but I think it could have been done for Megan's size. I'm sure it could. I will do another pair using a 20-gram mini, and just to see if it can be done. It was really interesting. I was really intrigued to see just how far I could stretch the mini. Obviously, you guys who have already bought the sock have only got a 20-gram mini. I think if you eliminated the heel and you just did the stripes and the cuff, then I think you could get away with it perhaps. Or you could just stripe the top of the foot, the leg of the sock, and then leave the foot plain. But I honestly think if you were knitting a smaller size sock, you could probably squeak it out. My friend Zena, she's doing it. She's going to see how it works. And I will do a sample. Alternatively, and I didn't intend for this to be a plug-in anyway, if you did want an extra bit of the red to do your socks, we can always, we sell that as a 10-gram mini anyway, so that's no problem. Just get in touch. But it was a good, fun experiment. I didn't cut the yarn, I carried it up the side. So I just carried the red along the top, along the side of the sock. So there's no ends to weave in other than at the start and the beginning, which is fun. You know, we'll have form about not weaving in ends. I didn't do any sort of yarn management to manage the jog, so there is a slight jog down the inside seam of the sock, But honestly, it doesn't bother me at all, and I know Nick could not care less. But there is a definite jog, because of course when we say we're knitting in the round, but actually we're knitting in a spiral, aren't we? So unless you do some fancy business to manage that jog, you will get that there. But honestly, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. It was an absolute joy to knit. It was just round and round, 5 rows, throw in a bit of red, and seeing it all come together has been lovely. So that, my friends, is Santa's Secret Sock Club for January. And yeah, I urge you to play around with stripes. It is surprising how far 20 gram goes. I say this is a UK size 10 foot with a 85 row leg, including the cuff, with 2 of the elements done in the red. So I honestly think you could squeak it out if you had a UK lady's foot perhaps, but I will do the experiment. But yeah, I urge you to have a play. I think it makes such a difference. And the difference between Megan's and my sock, using the same yarn and the same minis, it's phenomenally different, isn't it? The appearance and the look of the sock just by adding those stripes is completely different. Yeah, that was fun. Alrighty then, my darlings, I will see you next Wednesday.